I got tagged in a thread about John Crist, about his apology, and people were asking, opinions on it, thoughts on the matter, whether it was, whether it was okay or not, whether they thought it was something that got accepted too easily, or if it was something that, something that I felt like there was something that could have been done better. But yeah, the thread was kind of weird. So I basically got tagged by someone on a tweet someone else had posted saying that they, accepted his apology. They thought it was okay that he was back, that they didn't have any concerns about it. And, I disagree with that. Like, I have my own personal feelings about Chris, which I'm going to get into. But anyway, someone tagged me and they just, went on this big thread about comparing him to Scott. They tagged a bunch of other people, that were survivors or have advocacy pages. It was just super weird. And I guess I want to start mainly with the apology first and share my thoughts there. I haven't talked about it because it's not IFB related, but since that tweet thread, I've just been thinking about it. I already was. And I think there's a lot we can take away from it that I think applies to any abuse situation or anything like that. So for those of you that don't know, which I think pretty much anybody who has any connection to Christian community does, John Crist is a Christian comedian. I'm not personally a huge fan, but he's got millions and millions of views on his videos. Very, very, very popular within evangelical circles. And essentially some information came out a few months ago saying that he was leveraging like tickets to his events in exchange for like sexual favors. He was trying to get girls to talk to him even though he was married. And I believe one person as well alleged that he was sexting multiple women, initiated sexual relationships with married women and women in committed relationships, and offered show tickets in exchange for sexual favors, and called the women late at night while drunk. And so obviously not good, and I don't have to say that. I mean, that's very clearly wrong. He manipulated his power, manipulated women, abused his position and the platform that he had. And so not okay at all. He stepped back for a few months, went and got help. The details of that aren't super well known, so I don't know if he went to a addiction treatment center. I don't know if he was just going to a counselor. I don't know if that was handled, I don't know how that was handled. But I did watch his apology video, and when I watched that, there was a couple things that stood out to me, and I'll read his apology, or a portion of it here. So he says, over the past number of years, various women have accused me of behavior that has been hurtful to them. I'm not guilty of everything I've been accused of, but I have been guilty of this. I've treated relationships with women far too casually, in some cases even recklessly. My behavior has been destructive and sinful. I've sinned against God, against women, and the people who I love the most. I've violated my own Christian beliefs, convictions, and values, and I've hurt many people in the process. I'm sorry for the hurt and pain I've caused these women and will continue to seek their forgiveness. I've also hurt the name of Jesus and have sought his forgiveness. He says he's privately sought and received regular professional treatment for his sexual sin and addiction struggles, and added that he is committing to getting healing and freedom from his sin, as decided to cancel his remaining tour dates this year and to postpone all future commitments in order to devote all the time and energy to being healthy spiritually, mentally, and physically. And he said, those closest to me, my family, team, and close friends have known about this battle for some time, and now you do too. And so my biggest issue with the apology, and there was a video that he put out, that was from this written statement, but the video he put out was very Christ-centered. It was very much, here's what's affected me, here's my struggle with this, I needed to take time away from my mental health, for my things, which all of that is true. He does need to take time for mental health, for, to be counseled, to seek professional psychiatric help and things like that. I think that is important. But the big thing that seemed to be omitted from his statement was recognizing specifically what was done, and specifically apologizing to the women he's hurt. And I know that there were some generalities there, but my issue with the statement was he didn't seem to take much responsibility for what he did. And I wish he would have expressly stated, if some things that they said were not true, what was true, and what things are you doing to address those issues. And so the statement was very much about how it affected him, not how it affected his victims. And so that was my big issue with the apology. And then the next thing that happened was he ended up tweeting a video. So this is probably a week ago he did this statement. And then he posted a video on Twitter a few days ago and said something to the effect of there being it was basically like a skit video, and he was showing different brands in the store and was saying like, you know, cancel culture is coming after this brand and this brand, and was like poking fun at like, you know, brands with like names that could be considered offensive or things like that. And one of the things he was pointing out, he was like, he said something specifically about, we know you did some things in the past, but, you know, and so we're still going to cancel you over it. And it just felt odd to me. And again, it felt odd to me, and I think I was rightfully felt weird about it. It felt weird to me that the first thing he would do after 7 months of stopping his tour, of people being, you know, writing articles and all this stuff, that he attacked cancel culture as his first line of business coming back to the comedy world. And so for me, I felt like it sent a message to people who did accuse him of anything or did claim that he was guilty or needed to take responsibility for things. It felt like a slap back to them. And again, I could be wrong. Maybe, you know, I just am missing the point, but that's definitely what it seemed like. And it didn't seem like I was alone in that feeling. But anyway, as far as people, you know, accepting his apology and things like that, there's two things I just want to say about that. One, I do believe that, you know, I do believe that there's opportunities for people to experience grace who've done very bad things. You know, as a Christian, I believe that that's possible. But what I will say is, just because you experience grace and experience forgiveness doesn't mean you should necessarily keep the same platform that you once had. And again, some people might disagree. They might say, oh, it's just a comedian, things like that. Okay, that's fine. But what I want to say mainly about the apology side of things is, I do not have the right to choose whether or not I accept John Crist's apology. The people who have to decide whether or not they accept his apology, and the people that he needs to ask forgiveness from, are his victims. It's not his fans, because at the end of the day, I wasn't the one who was abused by John Crist. It was someone else. And so what I want to know is, has there been a direct effort to address it with that person, with the people that you did hurt and affect? Don't make a general statement that looks like a PR move and then move into the cancel culture conversation. Now, the very last thing I want to say about this is, you know, I understand, this is where it gets really tricky. I understand why there are Christians wanting to embrace him and welcome back into the fold. But what I do recognize with Crist is what I recognize in a lot of these cases, and that is how quickly you're accepted back rests a lot on how much perceived value you bring to, you know, Christianity, to individual churches, to Christian evangelical subculture. And, you know, with Crist, I think people are being much more welcoming to him than they would be to someone else who does similar things to abuse their power. I think because Crist is funny to some people, again, I don't find him super funny, but, you know, because Crist does have a draw with his audience, I think there's people very quick to welcome him back. There were a lot of people that were very quick to question his victims, and we've seen that within churches as well. You know, we see pastors skate through abuse allegations because they've been in ministry for 30 years, you know. And so my questions with Crist would be, one, what's he actually working on to address the issues that he's done? And then two, I would say, you know, what do the victims have to say? Do they feel like the issues have been addressed? Has he even reached out to them in any meaningful way, even with, you know, the guidance of a counselor or something like that? And then lastly, I would just say to people who are quick to say, you know, forgive him, let him back in, are you doing that as a fan, or are you doing that as someone who's thinking through the logistics of what he did? And so I'm curious from you guys, like, what you think about the whole John Crist situation. I know someone posted about it in the group, and there seemed to be some mixed reactions. And I know that there's a lot of people who disagree with me, but I'm still feeling very wary of the Crist situation. And I will say this, though, like, just the tweet I was involved in, and someone tagged like 30 accounts. Don't go attack everybody who may disagree or who may, you know, share a different feeling on this situation, because I think there are well-intentioned people who are trying to give the benefit of the doubt that work is being done. And I know that it's easy for us to sit here and say that, we don't believe it because we've seen this case time and time again. And that's how I feel. But, going and dragging someone on Twitter because they say they still think John Crist is funny and they think that the proper work's been done, I don't think that's appropriate either. And I don't know why I was tagged in the first place. But anyway, so yeah, let me know what you guys think about the situation in the comments. Mike, I just jumped on. Just to give a quick recap. I was just talking about Crist's statement, his apology, and, feeling in a lot of ways like it was a pretty self-centered apology. It was very much about John Crist apologizing for John Crist, having a struggle versus John Crist accepting the blame and responsibility for the way that his actions affected his victims. And so I just wanted to explain what I think an apology should look like when you're talking about, it's just a really hard topic. But anyway, so the idea of, apologies, the idea of people being more than willing to welcome someone back when they bring perceived value to their organization or their church. And then also, being gracious to people who maybe do accept his apology. Yeah, you can watch it in the replay. I think his apology, again, I know people don't believe it because I do the show that I do and they think that, I'm very negative toward people. I truly do try to give benefit of the doubt in a lot of these cases. But again, I want to see the work being put in. And, with John Crist specifically, his apology felt like it put a lot of blame on the accuser, saying not everything that was said was true. I just wish he would clearly identify, what did he do? What was it that you did that you are now fixing? If he said, hey, I specifically was, sending nude images to this person, and, I've spoken with them. I've talked to, her and her husband with, guidance of a counselor. I've, A, B, C, and D are being done to do this, and I'm stepping away from my platform for this period of time. I think that's an appropriate thing. To say that broadly, some is true, some's not, I just need to take some time for my mental health, I feel like that's a really rough spot to be in. I think you put yourself, you plant enough seed of doubt on the side of the victim, and you don't take any responsibility, because his fans are going to say, well, not all of it's true, so he just did something like he texted a girl too late at night and that was weird. And then, the people that don't like Crist are going to assume that, oh, it was worse than what we heard. And so he's doing a disservice to himself and to the women that he was talking to or sexually involved with. And he made it all about John Crist, and I had to pause my tour for mental health. That was the main thrust of his video, was I need to stop my work for mental health reasons. And I think that's kind of a cop-out answer. We've seen cases where people, address something specifically they've done wrong and work to improve it. And I didn't see it with this case. So what do you guys think? Did you think it was a sufficient apology? Did you feel like it was not? Just let me know where you're at on that. And yeah, if there's any comments that come in, I'll address those really quick. But I just want to hop in. I may pull this and make an episode about it. I don't know. I just wanted to address it because it was a weird thread to be tagged in. So, but yeah. No, anyway, good stuff happening on the show. Just wrapping up here. I've got a pretty killer lineup of guests. Let me pull up my schedule here. Yeah, we've got some good stuff coming on. We just dropped the episode with Jonathan Tiller out of Faith Baptist of Wildemar. We got a solo episode about how pedophiles hide in the church. We have a story coming out of Hopewell Baptist Church, Mike Ray's church, coming out August 2nd. We have an interview coming out with two people that were there at First Baptist of Hammond during Hyle's heyday, and a really good, that's one of my all-time favorite episodes. It's a very heavy episode, but it's a really good episode. And then we got Stacy Shiflett coming on August 9th, which is going to be a really good episode. Had a great conversation with him. And then we'll have an inside look at Agape Boarding School coming up on August 12th. And I just want to say thank you to all of you for your patience. I know it's been a little while. We just started getting back into a normal release schedule. Just to be completely honest with you guys, the last month, there's a lot of stuff and I know that everyone says this pretty vaguely. There was a lot of stuff going down the last few months behind the scenes. And I don't know if people realize or know this, but, I probably get anywhere from 10 to 15 messages a day from this show. And I'm dealing with some stuff right now that's not even making it on the show. But there's a lot of stories that haven't even made it on the show because there's a lot of legal stuff with that. And I'm trying to make sure that they perceive that it's a good time for them to do it. I just spoke with someone today who's, not ready to come on yet, but there's a lot of legal things that I'm trying to help them, get set up. Not to say I'm the only one doing this or that, a pat on the back, but what I will say is the beginning of last month when I paused the show, there was a lot that had happened all at once, and I just needed to step away from it and take a little break. I've still been working in the background. I've been still messaging people, but I just wanted to remove that commitment side for a couple weeks just so I could focus in on that. But honestly, guys, there's a lot of really good things happening as a result of the show. As a result of the interviews and people sharing their stories. Every guest that comes on and shares their story, I mean, it opens the door for 3 or 4 people, like it seems each time, that are ready to share. And so, if you're Christians, definitely be praying for, people who come on. This is a tough subject for everybody. And, especially for the people who come on, I'm hearing the stories, but people are experiencing the stories. And so, I appreciate the time to step away. It helped me really structure out a really solid month for next month. It's helped me kind of reframe and refocus on what I want to see happen with this show. And I'm really hoping to see, a lot more progress being made. And trust me when I say there are some massive things happening right now that none of you are seeing, and that I think you're all going to be pretty surprised by with, the scale of some of this stuff. And that's not just me trying to pitch it or say, hey, listen to the show, because honestly, I don't. That's not at all it. I mean, there's stuff here that is just important. I think that people need to know, and the information needs to get out. And so, anyway, I appreciate you guys. Again, I apologize for the break in the release, and I hope that the content's coming out here soon will kind of get us back on track and be encouraging to all of you. So, yeah, that's pretty much it. If you guys have any questions, I'll stay on for 5-10 minutes and answer anything, but I don't want to, just drag this out. So we've been talking for 20 minutes. Yeah, Tim, surprised. Yeah, there's a lot of surprising information. Again, I mean, that's really all I can say right now. Seriously, is just there's some really big stuff, and it's heavy stuff. And yeah, again, I don't want to just make this all me center, but I've talked to a couple people off mic. There's a lot of really heavy stuff out here. Ron about Chris says, I got the impression that it was a public apology specifically to his fans, not so much to the victims. As an apology to fans, I think it's fine. If that's the only apology that victims get, then yeah, it's insufficient. Like you said, I hope you would reach out personally and sincerely apologize to victims and their families. I also think there's a difference between a pastor and an entertainer. Yeah, I mean, again, the thing is, at the end of the day, we don't know. And so I think that's why I'm hesitant to rush back. I'm curious to see any responses from the victims who did speak out originally. If it is to just the fans, I mean, yeah, I guess it holds water as that. I don't know. And then the entertainer and pastor side, I struggle with that. It's the same thing people say, the president. I voted for a president, not a pastor. To some extent, yeah, that's true. But also there's basic moral things that don't just apply to religious people, religious men. And so, sexual assault, that's a standard that, I think anybody should be held to, not just someone who's a pastor or anything like that. So that's my thoughts on that. Weston, you'll have to catch the replay. but we talked about Chris' apology and things like that. But anyway, yeah, guys, that's pretty much it. If there's no other questions, I'll go ahead and jump off here. I just want to talk about that and appreciate you guys tuning in. And like I said, there's a couple really good episodes getting ready to come out here. I really liked my conversation with Stacy. I have a couple other big ones that are coming out very soon. So just stay tuned. keep an eye out. And if there's anything I can do to help any of you beyond, just the show, like, sincerely reach out to me. Even if it's not something you're interested in doing at all and you don't want to get on a podcast and chat with me in a public forum, but you need help with, connecting with other victims, connecting with the legal side, finding a therapist or something. I have a lot of connections with people that I've gotten because of this show, and I'd be more than happy to, set up a connection with you guys so that way you can do what you need to do to heal. At the end of the day, beyond this being a podcast, this is me trying to help people. So if there's something I can do to get you the help that you need, I have people that call, they're like, "You're not recording this, are you?" I'm not going to just record any phone call that we have. So, shoot me an email, preacherboysdoc@gmail.com. That's preacherboysdoc@gmail.com. And I'd be more than happy to talk with you about any issue or concern you might have. So anyway, with that said, I'm going to go ahead and end the broadcast here. But I really appreciate all of you continue tuning in, and especially people who on the show who have like books or are professionals with like their own content. Be sure to check that out and let them know that you appreciate them, and let's all just keep encouraging each other and see what we can do. So all right guys, I'm gonna go ahead and tune out, but enjoy the rest of your day and stay safe out there.